Hello, everyone. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you hear is my ventilator. And welcome to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today we celebrate. Yesterday was the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. May 19th, 1999 is a day that will live in infamy in Star Wars history. Or fame, depending on how you look at it. And that, I think, is one of the joys of it. Is certainly, we can say, and I think we can all agree, regardless of our opinion of Phantom Menace, that it definitely motivates a lot of discussion among the fans. And I think that's a good thing. So, what can we say? You could fill an entire library with articles, videos, essays, movies, yes, movies. The documentary, The People versus George Lucas, anyone? With what people have said about the Phantom Menace. What can I add to that deluge, if I'm pronouncing it right, of the Phantom Menace discussion? Well, I can only speak for myself. Let me tell you about my personal experiences with the film and my personal feelings about the film. But before we do that, I just want to say it's hard to believe that it has been 20 years. And I believe that the Star Wars fandom only got stronger because of the prequels, which is interesting, considering that a large number of fans were not pleased. And yet here we are, and I think maybe we wouldn't be here. Star Wars maybe wouldn't be as big of a deal if it weren't for the Phantom Menace. So, I was 13 years old when the movie was released. 13 and a half, I believe. And I went and saw it. I do not remember the exact details of when and where I saw it first. I do, oddly enough, remember when and where I was when I first saw the trailer. I've discussed that before on my podcast. So I saw the movie in the theaters once. Now, this is not because I didn't like it. No, this is just because back then I didn't really go to movies multiple times in the theater. In fact, believe it or not, the most I've ever seen a movie in the theater was The Force Awakens. I saw it 4 times. That's a record for me. No, I remember I saw The Phantom Menace, and I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I remember in the back of my mind going, this doesn't feel right. But I went along with it. And we bought the VHS as soon as it came out. And that is where I watched it to death. In fact, I have the entire movie memorized. That shows you how much of a Star Wars nut I am. So, I watched the VHS to death. I even remember showing it to one of my babysitters who had never seen a Star Wars movie. An interesting place to start, I think. So, it wasn't until a couple of years later that I started to look back at the film and say, you know what, I don't like this movie. I started to notice some of the very painful acting, some of the just the story not really going anywhere in certain parts, and things like that. And a dislike of Jar Jar started to grow. However, my feelings have changed over the years. About 2 or 3 years ago, more like 2 years ago, I started to take a step back and say to myself, what is it about this movie from an artistic standpoint that does not work for me? And I started to look at it and say the writing, the acting, the storytelling, Jar Jar's lack of purpose in the story or contribution to the story. That's what I really noticed as being artistically wrong with the film. Now, there is nothing wrong with not liking a film just because there's things in it that annoy you or bother you that have nothing to do with the artistry of the film. That's fine. And just for me, I realized that, let's take Jar Jar Binks, for example. I didn't have a problem with Jar Jar, I discovered, because he was annoying, or that some of his humor didn't work. At least didn't work for me, I should say. It was because I felt that he contributed nothing to the story. I wanted to look at it from more of that kind of perspective. But then, oddly enough, probably within the last year, I've started to do a serious reevaluation of my feelings about The Phantom Menace. And I gotta tell you, ever since I first saw it, there are many, many, many things that I enjoy about this movie. And I came to the conclusion that if I focused on what I liked instead of what I didn't like, I discovered that when all is said and done, I liked this movie. Or rather, there is more in this movie that I like than I don't like. If that makes sense. So, in honor of celebrating this 20-year-old film, I'm going to tell you about the things I like or even love in this movie. Let's begin the music. Oh my gosh. John Williams' score is magnificent. In fact, it's probably one of the scores that I listen to the most in Star Wars. I may even have found myself listening to it more than I do to the original trilogy. The music, marvelous. The Duel of the Fates scene is, I think, some of the best that Star Wars has to offer, and I really mean that. The music with the chorus, oh gosh. The fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul is marvelous. And the battle going on during that part is pretty neat. And it's just, I think that many fans, even those who are a bit salty about The Phantom Menace, can agree that the Duel of the Fates sequence is marvelous. Let's also talk about the pod race. I love the pod race. Now, I could do without the two-headed announcer. That's maybe a little silly for my taste. But if you like him, that's great. But the pod race is fun. Yet again, great music. Great action. You know, it's very Ben-Hur. And if you have not seen the 1959 version of Ben-Hur, see it, and then watch the pod race again. What else? Qui-Gon. Oh my gosh. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all. Liam Neeson does such a good job with this character. And I love that the character is... He's... What's the right word? He's a rogue. He doesn't always go along with the Jedi Council. He certainly is a Jedi through and through. But one of the things that I think has been pointed out, thankfully by the folks at Force Center, is that maybe the Jedi Order aren't supposed to be that good. Maybe they've gotten so stuck in their ways that they are basically turned into a bunch of galactic idiots. Which I think you can make a strong case for that. And Qui-Gon, I think, oddly enough, is a Jedi, probably what a Jedi should be, as far as rejecting a lot of that hidebound thinking. And maybe being a little bit more adventurous and open. And I don't think any of the Jedi Council, or certain other Jedi who were very stuck in their ways, would have ever believed that Anakin was the chosen one. I honestly think that they were probably so blind in their and stuck in their own institutionalized ways that they never would have been able to see it. It would take someone roguish like Qui-Gon. Because we're not even sure if Obi-Wan believed it at first. He certainly came to believe it later. But, you know, it took someone like Qui-Gon, I think. Another character I love is Watto. Now, yes, we could discuss whether or not Watto is some kind of racial stereotype or ethnic stereotype. I don't necessarily buy that. I can see why some people think that, but that's a discussion for another time. He's a great character because he's such a shady dealer. Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mom, doesn't get enough credit. She's wonderful, and Pernilla August, the actress, does such a good job, and I'm sure it would not surprise anyone to learn that she did once play Mary, the mother of Jesus. You know. Let that sink in for a minute. Now that connects to Star Wars. Also, Captain Panaka is a character that doesn't get enough love, I don't think. And heck, I even like Boss Nass. So there are a good number of characters that are really good here. That I find enjoyable. And, of course, the spectacle of the movie is pretty good looking stuff. Good visuals. The world building is amazing. My brother and I were discussing this recently. That the ability to create these new wonderful Star Wars worlds that fit right in. They feel like old friends who've been there the whole time. Naboo and Coruscant, just some amazing visuals. As well as just creating these fascinating planets. And I would love, and I've said this before, I would love to live on Naboo. So there's some great stuff there. There's really, for me, there is some nostalgia. I was still young enough that the nostalgic factor is still there. Now, yes, we could talk about the things that don't work in the film. But today, I just wanted to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this film. Which, like it or not, has found a major place in the hearts of many Star Wars fans. And in the lore and canon of Star Wars. And there's a lot it adds. I love the addition of the Chosen One idea. that Anakin is supposed to be some kind of Jedi savior. Now, I know some people will think that's a little weird, but I think it adds another layer of depth and complexity and makes the whole story richer, I think. There's so much I can say that I enjoy about this film. So, if I had to say, if I were given two choices, do I like this movie or not like this movie? I would say I like it. There are a lot of things in it that I don't like, it's true. But I enjoy it. And also, this talk about whether or not the prequels should be remade to be better. I could not disagree more. It's George Lucas's vision, and it added so much to Star Wars. Some of the great content that we enjoy now, like Star Wars The Clone Wars, would not exist were it not for the prequels. And particularly for Episode 1. So those are my thoughts. There's a whole generation of young folk who saw The Phantom Menace when they were little kids. And it means so much to them because that was their entry point into Star Wars. And I will not begrudge them that. And if you're sitting out there listening and you love this movie, great. If you're listening and you hate this movie, great. Let us all be free to express our opinions. Let us all also be respectful of the opinions of others. But let us go forward with optimism and positivity. And I am so glad that the tide is turned and that more and more people are embracing their love of the Phantom Menace. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.